We turn now to the supply chain crunch and the logjam at the nation's ports. Some are now working around the clock to get goods off of ships, but a shortage of workers to deliver them is keeping the bottleneck in place, contributing to rising prices for nearly everything Americans are buying. ABC's Kaylee Hartung reports tonight from the Port of Los Angeles.
Tonight, with the holidays approaching fast, the all-out push to get goods off those backlogged ships and onto shelves, with the Port of Los Angeles now running operations around the clock. Officials know the clock is ticking.
We're only 4.5 weeks away from Black Friday. We've got a lot of work ahead of us.
What is sitting in all these containers behind us?
Everything.
Everything you can imagine.
Toilet paper, your shirts, your shoes.
Your Peloton bike.
Your bikes, right?
Computers.
Air conditioners. Everything everybody's waiting for.
Longshoremen telling me some of these containers have been sitting here for 6 months, with a shortage of truck drivers to get the goods on the highway and into stores. It's not just making things harder to find, it's making them more expensive. This year has already seen record-breaking price jumps for products like children's shoes, up nearly 12%, and furniture, up more than 11%.
Quite simply, where is the breakdown?
The breakdown is in the supply chain in general.
The supply chain disrupted by the pandemic. The cost of shipping containers to move goods from Asia to the U.S. soaring, plus a labor shortage and outdated infrastructure, all contributing to this logjam. We followed the supply chain from the port to the warehouse. And as for those hopes of those goods getting there in time for the holidays,
what is that cutoff?
It was probably realistically about a month ago.
Sounds like we have to start holiday shopping now. Kaylee Hartung joins us now from the Port of Los Angeles. We saw President Biden announce new efforts to help speed up getting goods out of those ports. But are the workers there to get that done, Kaylee?
Yeah, Stephanie, a big part of President Biden's strategy is to have the supply chain running 24/7. But as long as we have been talking about this crisis that the supply chain is dealing with, we have been talking about a shortage of labor at so many points in that chain. So the question is being asked, if the workers weren't there before, then how will they be there to fill another shift? One bit of good news I did get today from the union reps at the Port of Los Angeles. They say they have the workers. They have the workers, about 14,000 of them, between the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach. They just need the orders from those shipping companies to get to work, to do their part. But they are just one piece in this much bigger supply chain, and it's seeing disruptions all across the world. Stephanie?
Absolutely. So what are they saying there on how long this backlog could go on for? And what are retailers doing to help get these supplies moving?
Yeah, so there's no quick fix, right? And optimists are saying 6 months it might take to work through a lot of these challenges. But one of those longshoremen who I talked to today said he thinks they are going to be working through this crisis well into holiday season of next year. Try to wrap your mind around that. So in the meantime, as they're trying to move everything from toys to appliances and furniture, some big name retailers are saying they are going to start doing more work overnight. Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and Samsung, all among the big retailers who are saying they are ready to move more of their cargo in those off-peak hours. That's one of those keys, Stephanie, to President Biden's strategy to get this supply chain running 24/7.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Kaylee. I'm joined now by Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, Wally Adeyemo. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We saw the actions the Biden administration announced yesterday aimed at easing congestion at the nation's ports and to help speed goods getting out across the country. Are there any other tools the Biden administration can deploy to address this supply chain crunch, especially as we head into the holiday season?
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me. And yesterday, the president took decisive action to bring parties together in order to deal with the supply chain issues the country has been facing coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. We always knew that coming out of the pandemic, we would have bumps along the way as we reopened the economy. And what the president did yesterday was bring together leaders from the ports of Los Angeles in order to make sure that that port is running 24 hours a day. But what we also know is that much of the supply chains in this country and around the world are controlled by the private sector. So he's also encouraging the private sector to do what they can do to make sure that our ports stay open. And we're going to use every tool in the federal toolkit in order to make sure that supplies are able to move into the hands of the American people as they deal with the pandemic. Ultimately, one of the things the president has been focused on is making sure that the resources that were provided by the American Rescue Plan are getting into the hands of the American people so they can pay for the goods that are being delivered to their house on a daily basis and that we can all make it through the pandemic.
But Secretary, do you think more could have been done months ago as we started to come out of the pandemic to get ahead of this?
Stephanie, the president has been very focused on this set of issues. We always knew that coming out of the pandemic, we would face supply chain issues because reopening up an economy that had been closed down wouldn't be easy. That's why when he announced the American Rescue Plan, he included things like the emergency impact payments and the child tax credit in order to make sure that the American people would have the resources to make it through the end of the pandemic that we knew would be bumpy because it would take time for our supply chains to catch up with demand in the economy.
But another impact of this backlog is how it's contributed to rising prices. Leaders like Treasury Secretary Yellen and Fed Chair Jerome Powell have said that inflation will be temporary as the economy more fully reopens. But how concerned should Americans be about high prices staying with us longer and eating into their pocketbooks?
Stephanie, you're right that today we face an economy that's in transition. And as part of that transition, we are seeing high prices for some of the things that people have to buy. That's exactly why the president was focused in the American Rescue Plan in ensuring that we got stimulus into the hands of the American people so they'd be able to buy the products that they need. But the reality is that the only way we're going to get to a place where we work through this transition is if everyone in America and everyone around the world gets vaccinated. That's why the president continues to be focused on the idea that we get everyone who can vaccinated in this country. And that while we're doing that, we continue to provide the kind of resources the American people need to make it to the other side. We're paying a great deal of attention to these issues and making sure that we're using every tool the federal government has to address the supply chain issues and to make sure that the American people have the resources they need to make it to the other side of the pandemic.
Everybody waiting to get to that other side. I want to turn now to an issue that's generated a great deal of controversy, a proposal for financial reporting that would require banks to report accounts with annual transactions over $600 to the IRS. We understand this has the goal of trying to catch wealthy individuals who aren't reporting income that should be taxed. But just explain why the Treasury Department thinks this is the most effective way to achieve that.
Stephanie, this is fundamentally about fairness. And it is unfair that people who make a great deal of money are able to not pay their taxes, while those people who earn a paycheck and get paid every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks have their taxes pulled out of their income. What we know to be true is that hundreds of billions of dollars of taxes aren't paid by the wealthiest people in America. And we know that one of the ways to help find these individuals is to getting some information from banks, 2 pieces of information, in fact. How much money went into a bank account and how much money came out of a bank account, which will help the IRS track down those people who are seeking to evade our tax system in order to make sure that we're having those people pay their fair share of taxes for the things that they use, like our roads and our bridges and the schools that our children go to.
But why is that threshold set at $600? Why not $10,000 or $50,000 or even higher? So you're only getting this information on people who are wealthy enough to be avoiding thousands or even millions of dollars in taxes owed.
The reality is that the plan the president has proposed does 2 things. One, it helps us find the wealthiest individuals who are hiding their income in these financial institutions and make sure that they have to pay their taxes. But it also will make sure that those of us who earn an income through a W-2 and pay taxes every 2 or 4 weeks are less likely to be audited because we'll be able to see the transactions that came in. We'll see the transactions in your account, how much money you received and how much money you spent over a period of time. That'll mean that for those Americans who are paying their taxes on a regular basis and following the law, they'll be less likely to be audited because of this proposal.
And Secretary, we cannot let you go without talking about the debt ceiling. Congress has kicked that can down the road when it comes to the debt ceiling, with the issue now likely to come to head again in December. Republicans have made it clear that they are not going to provide any votes to help raise or suspend the debt ceiling. Then, is it time for the White House and Democrats in Congress to move forward with the reconciliation option to avoid another potential crisis?
Stephanie, as you know, the debt ceiling is not about new bills. It's about making sure that we're able to pay all of our previous bills and all the things that Congress has already agreed to spend money on. Not increasing the debt ceiling would be a catastrophe. It would mean that we're unable to pay Social Security checks. We're unable to continue to pay the child tax credit, which is so important to Americans right now. It would be a catastrophe for the American economy, and it's something that we expect Congress to increase, as they've done on a bipartisan basis time and time again over the last several years and decades.
We will all be watching in December. Thank you so much, Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, Wally Adeyemo. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.